great to catch up on FYI with Command Superintendent of Schools, Justin Shaffer, now in his second year, a year and a half in on the job. How's it going, Justin?
The second year has been great. A lot of positive progress being made in Camanche. Still have our significant challenge, which is budget and right-sizing the school district. So we'll continue to work through that, but continue to communicate openly with the school board and with the staff about these challenges and making progress on those things. So.
We were visiting just briefly before on air. You're getting ready for your 20th year in education. How quick has those 20 years gone by?
You know, I would say the last 5 have really just flown by. Being in grad school again and completing my program at Drake, time went really quickly there. When I was the middle school, high school principal, those couple of years seemed to just go by really quick. And it's just hard to believe as I'm flipping the calendar to March this weekend that we're in that time period of my second year being a superintendent. And then when we just reviewed some seniority documentation, and I was like, holy moly, 19 years for me already. So 20 years has gone by really, really quick. Really enjoyed my time in Camanche. You know, Camanche is a special place. We've put out a couple of social media posts about open enrollment deadline is due this upcoming weekend, and the great thing about Camanche is we're going to know your kid by name, and we can offer all of the opportunities that are offered at all of the schools around us, and just a special place to be able to do it all.
And, you know, to get people to come into your district, you've made some renovations, some updates on your facilities, right?
Yeah, for sure. We've got a brand new theater that we're very proud of. We actually have a performance this weekend. So if you're looking to come to The Wizard of Oz, the kids version, our middle school is performing in our high school theater. So excited about that opportunity. That's this Friday and Saturday at 7 o'clock. And then we renovated our main competition gym with some new paint, new bleachers, so that's a nice new shiny facility. And then really showcasing closing in the pool, which is now a wrestling and a chorus room, and then added an auxiliary gym. Our gyms are used constantly after school hours. I was in last night at our high school, and our baseball team is already in using the auxiliary gym, getting a jump start on the upcoming season, and then also our new weight room fitness area as well, which is used by our kids on a daily basis and then used in the evenings by some of our programs as well.
Again, visiting with Justin Shaffer. Before we get into your talking points, I was asking you, Trent Fitzpatrick, who just completed his first year as your varsity basketball coach. Nice young man. I had a chance to cover his games when he was playing down at Davenport Assumption, and he's going to be staying on.
Yeah, so Trent is coming back as our basketball coach, and then we just went through the interview process after Andy Eberhard, our activities director, announced his retirement from being the activities director. Wish Andy all of the best. He's been a great addition to our Comanche staff here the last several years. But went through that interview process, had a lot of quality applicants. We had over, I think, 12 to 14 people apply for the position. We interviewed 5, and Trent rose to the top, and so Trent Fitzpatrick will be our activities director starting on July 1st of this summer.
I think that's great news. That's outstanding.
Yeah, we're excited about it. Trent has some different experience coming from, his playing days at Assumption, then up to college. Yeah. In the Dubuque area, and then went off to Pennsylvania and did some work with some D1 programs, and just has a wealth of knowledge about building programs, and just looking forward to what he's going to bring to Camanche to take our activities to the next step.
Glad to hear that. Full day preschool. Talk about this.
Yeah, so this has been something that has kind of been in the works for the last year and a half as I've been a superintendent, been having conversations with the board and some of our committees. I think most people in the Comanche-Clinton area realize that daycare is a significant challenge, and finding wraparound daycare for our preschool students seems to be a significant challenge in Comanche. APK, which was a center type of daycare provider, has officially closed and left town, and so we're very reliant on the in-home providers in our community, which they do a great job, but it just doesn't seem like there's enough of them, and so we trying to kind of find a solution to this, and we're moving forward with offering one classroom of full-day preschool. So we currently have 2 preschool teachers, and they each run half-day programs, AM and PM sessions. So we actually can house roughly 80 students in our preschool, and that's just not the demand in Camanche anymore. Our enrollment has kind of leveled off, kindergarten through 4th grade into the mid 50s to 60s, and so by doing this full day program, we would run one program full day with 20 kids in it, and then the other teacher would continue to do the half day session. So we could have a half day of 20 in the morning and a half day of 20 in the afternoon. So our enrollment, we're decreasing what we could have as a maximum enrollment down to 60 total students, but providing full day opportunities for our preschool student is something that we think is important, especially for those families that need the daycare. So
Yeah, so many households of both the mom and dad are working, and it's great to have this for them.
right, and they will be able to ride the bus just like an elementary school kiddo. So we'll pick them up at whatever is the location and drop them off at whatever is that location. There will be a fee that we're charging for the second half of the day, and that's going to be $400. But as we kind of reviewed what are some daycare rates here locally and what are some other districts charging for preschool for the second half of the day, we feel comfortable with that $400, and that would be billed September through May, so they would have 9 different payments of $400 that they would need to make to the district.
So it's a monthly payment.
A monthly payment. Yep. Okay. And then, but their kid is going to be there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 3:15 in the afternoon. Our preschool runs Monday through Thursday. They're going to have lunch provided to them. They're going to have a guaranteed rest time because that's part of preschool programming. And so realistically what we're doing is the academic portion of that day is probably going to increase by about 60 minutes. The rest of it will be, a second recess opportunity, a lunch opportunity, and that rest opportunity.
What age are we talking? Is it 3 or 4?
So this is 4-year-olds.
Okay.
And right now, if you're not familiar, the state offers free 4-year-old preschool. So the first part of the day is paid for by the state, and what we're needing to be compensated would be that second part of the day. It would be great if our legislators jumped on funding preschool at the full day. I don't see that happening yet this current legislative session. It may happen years down the road, but this is something we're going to do this upcoming school year and give it a trial run, and then we'll make decisions long-term based upon how this year goes.
We're going to talk about state funding a little bit later on in the program. I know you drive bus now, so those those 4-year-olds, that's got to be a big step to get onto the bus.
It is. It's important for us when we provide transportation to our preschoolers. They get picked up and dropped off at their home, so we don't do community-based stops for preschool students. And then we're blessed to be able to have monitors on all of our buses, so the driver is responsible for driving the school bus,
right.
But the monitor can help those little kids get up and down the stairwell. I actually, as you bring it up, I had to drive the day that we had our Valentine's Day program, and I felt like I needed to go back and get a different bus, Gary, because they came with some of the most creative boxes and all the gear for their Valentine's Day party that I thought my bus was going to be overflowing by the time we got all the kids on.
Yeah, so. And before we take a break for the weather and getting the other talking points, people, when they think of schools, they think maybe just of the teachers, but it is transportation, it is the custodians, it is the people in the kitchen. I mean, there's so much that goes in.
Yeah, we often review that with our staff, that there are so many contact points before a kid even gets to the classroom at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you hit on a lot of them, whether it's a driver or a bus monitor, a food service person in one of our kitchens, a secretary or an associate saying hello before they walk down the hallway and are greeted after they're dropped off by a parent, all those things. And then the educator has them for the majority of the day, but it takes all of us to be able to provide a really well-rounded education for our students.
It takes a village.
It does.
Back with more on our FYI program with Justin Shaffer. A break for the weather brought to you by Prairie Lumber.
We're tracking a nice upward climb in your temperatures for Thursday. We'll start off with a lot of clouds, but later this afternoon, we'll start to see some sunshine. That with a southwest wind will push temperatures well into the 40s this afternoon. We'll see mostly clear skies tonight and overnight lows in the upper 20s. With your Storm Track 8 weather impact forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
Skies still overcast, temperature now 32 degrees. Our update brought to you by Prairie Lumber.
Let your new kitchen or bath tell a story and be an inspiration for years to come with craft-made cabinets from Prairie Lumber in Fulton. Craft-made Cabinetry offers a multitude of customizable options for your project. Create your dream kitchen or bath today with the help of craft-made cabinets. Stop by Prairie Lumber at 912 2nd Street in Fulton and make your dream kitchen or bath a reality.
Second half of the program with Justin Shaffer, continuing to work to right-size the district, and you've relocated your administration center.
We will be relocating our admin center. So we officially announced at a school board meeting here recently that our admin center next school year will be the last year that we're using that admin center. So that currently houses myself, our bookkeeper, payroll, and then our business director. And then in the back side of that building, we have kind of our transportation hub. So we have an office for our transportation people, and then that's where we keep all of our vehicles. So we're in the process of looking for other areas within our school district property. So we currently have our elementary campus and then our what I refer to as our secondary campus, where our middle school and high school are. And so we're looking at places where we could move those 4 employees into, and then also relocate our transportation hub. So a lot of work kind of behind the scenes on planning for this. One of the reasons that we're looking to do this and is really the narrative that's been communicated through, state government is you need to be more efficient with the funds that you have. And so this is a way for us to model that we're being more efficient. We're going to go from 3 properties that the district maintains. We'll go down to 2 properties that the district maintains. And then it's just also time for us to kind of control the narrative. So the first year and a half of being a superintendent, a lot of what I've had to do has been reactive, and it's time for us to maybe start controlling that narrative a little bit more, and let's get in front of it, and let's be proactive with our solutions. And so we don't have to relocate our admin center. We could continue to work, where we're working, but it does seem silly to heat and cool a building for 4 employees when we could go into an empty classroom potentially, or multiple empty spaces that we already have across our district. So
have you picked out the location yet?
We have not. We're just kind of in the initial planning stages of that. I've communicated to the board that this is one of our solutions that we'll be able to implement a year from now, as we continue to look at, right sizing our school district. So believe it or not, we spend approximately $12,000 to $15,000 to heat and cool our admin center on an annual basis. And so there's $12,000 to $15,000 just by not having to do that we can save in future years. And so we'll look for opportunities. I think as enrollment kind of levels off here and we're transitioning from being, like a 3-section district, so 3 sections of first grade, 3 sections of second. We're really kind of transitioning to 2 sections just based upon enrollment. We're going to have some spaces across our district that are going to free themselves up, or that we could just better utilize those spaces and have, still have the access to the public for our admin center. We have lots of people that stop by our admin center, whether it's to pay bills or employees to come talk about payroll things, or just different people that are constantly in and out of our admin center. So we need to be accessible to the public. So it'll need to be strategic where we place ourselves. But again, we're going to control that narrative, and we're going to get out in front of it, as opposed to having to be reactive. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Ideally, where would you like to see this at?
I think there's a couple of different options. We have space within a couple of our media centers where we have some conference rooms and other small offices that we could incorporate ourselves into. I think there's just lots of different opportunities across the district. So we'll look at that. I think one of the things we'll need to figure out is exactly where transportation's going to go, and make a plan there, because it's important for, Taryn Detterman does a lot of our work with transportation. I've taken on some responsibilities with transportation. So it'll be important that we're close by wherever that transportation hub is, because there's still responsibilities that communication needs to be to our drivers or to our monitors about certain students and plans that they might have in that afternoon route.
I would imagine, and as part of your job as the superintendent is to make these decisions on where we're going to be, who's going to be handling this responsibility, and so on.
For sure. And ultimately it's my decision at the end of the day, and we've got to balance the district financials, and this is one of the solutions that's been on my kind of radar list the entire time. Actually, going all the way back to the interview process, I spoke about being more efficient with district property all the way back when I interviewed for the superintendent's position. So it just takes some time to get these things, to walk through all of the plans and talk to all of the different stakeholders within the district about how these things could shake out. And we're kind of finally at that stage where we're ready to start talking about it a little bit publicly.
How much of a role does the school board play in this, Justin?
Yeah, so we've got a great school board who is super involved. We've got some committees that are working behind the scenes. So right now I would say our projects committee that's looking at, what are we doing with buildings and grounds enhancements? They're having some of these conversations. And then also simultaneously our human resource committee is also having some of these conversations about how we're being efficient with the staff that we have. Are there opportunities to be more efficient? And so both of those committees are having conversations, and those are typically 3 members of the school board on a committee having these conversations, and then we do a monthly report back to the whole board so that everyone's feeling informed about these decisions.
All right, very good. We touched on it briefly, state funding.
Yeah, so I just, as a public school superintendent, I need to advocate for continued strong funding of public education. I will go on the record and say it's disappointing to see 2% SSA. 2% is not going to allow us to keep up. It's going to force us to continue to make difficult decisions. Going back to the one we just talked about, this is almost is forcing our hand on having to relocate our admin center because, cost of electricity is going to go up more than 2%. I can guarantee you that. It will in our own homes. It will for the school district as well. Cost of, you name it, those things are going to go up. Cost of health insurance, cost of property and liability insurance, all of those things are going to continue to go up. And when SSA doesn't keep up at that rate, it forces districts to make really tough decisions. We were fortunate last year to cut $1.2 million and continue to offer all of the same programs and opportunities to our kids. We're looking at cutting roughly $300,000 to $400,000 this year. We're still going to be able to offer all those same opportunities to our kids, but our staff is really starting to feel the burden of taking more on, and it would be nice to be able to compensate them at an appropriate rate. And it would also just be nice for state funding to keep up. So that's one of the reasons I put it on there is it just needs to continue to be a focus. 2% is not enough.
What comes to my mind, listening to you throw out those numbers, $1,300,000, $400,000. Comanche is a relatively small school district. I would imagine those school districts in the Des Moines area, what they have to cut.
Yeah, and I think everyone feels 2%. Whether you're a large urban area or you're a small rural area, you're going to feel 2%. It's just how do you go about doing that without it disrupting our students? I think that's what I constantly am hearing from my fellow superintendents, and you have to make tough decisions. One of the things that we've done here recently is just continue to narrow back some of our college opportunities. We have students who can take college courses, and when I first was a superintendent, or even back when I was high school principal, you could take any course at Eastern Iowa Community College. We've really started to narrow that back, just as a way to kind of put a fence around some things, but it also is partially a cost savings mechanism as well.
Just real quickly, what percentage do you think would be fair, would be something that would really help?
I think realistically 4% was doable this year. I think 3.5% to 4.5% would be something that I could champion and could get behind. That would show that we're keeping up with inflation, and there was a little bit extra there potentially to reward our public school teachers ultimately.
And finally, you had an event, Grow Clinton is kind of sponsoring this.
Yeah, so the Education Symposium, excited to be part of the group that's going up to Northeast. So this year we're holding it at Northeast schools, and it'll be catered by the Tilted Silo. And we have some students, and our high school principal, Josh Davis, will be there to discuss what we did for J-term. So we did that week-long job shadowing opportunity, had a lot of community support behind that. that. And so we're going to go up there and just talk about the great successes that we had from J-term. But then I believe I've heard yesterday there are 6 local school districts that are going to be in attendance, and just showcasing what do each one of our districts do to have that workforce development, or what are we doing for job shadowing opportunities, and a great opportunity for local businesses to hear what the schools are doing and to further strengthen partnerships that we already have.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate your time. Before we let you go, anything maybe we didn't touch upon that you would like to add before we wrap up the program, Justin?
No, the last thing I would just throw out there was if anybody was interested in exploring Camanche as a school district opportunity, the open enrollment deadline is March 1st. That actually is Sunday. So technically you have until March 2nd this year, Monday, to turn any open enrollment applications in. So if you were considering that and wanted to experience a 2A size school district, now is your opportunity to get that paperwork turned in.
Okay. Would they have to go to your website, or how does that work?
You can actually find the paperwork online on the Department of Education. We also have it on our website, or call one of our district offices.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Gary.